Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're talking about M.o.d.o.k, the animated series. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. I'm your host, Brent, and today we're going to talk about M.o.d.o.k, the animated series. Now, I'm only talking about the first episode, because that's all I've watched. But before we get into what I thought about it, let me ask you to please do one thing. Please subscribe. Helps me out, lets you know when I post new videos, helps the channel grow, all that good stuff. Now, M.o.d.o.k, alright? So this is an animated series on Hulu. It's co-executive produced by Patton Oswalt, who's doing the voice of M.o.d.o.k. I like Patton Oswalt. I think he's funny. I enjoy his humor. I enjoy his writing. I enjoy lots of things about Patton Oswalt. I did not enjoy M.o.d.o.k. This is also brought to you by the same animation team that does Robot Chicken. And on the animation side, M.o.d.o.k looks great. It looks phenomenal. You know, I could watch this thing a lot longer than I did if it was any good in terms of story or jokes. So in general, I think this show is bad. I only watched the first episode. All 10 episodes are available on Hulu now. It's exclusively on Hulu. It's a adult animated series. It's M.o.d.o.k killing people and saying bad words, but instead of I only watched the first episode and I can't watch anymore. It's not funny at all. It didn't engross me. The story is really weird. M.o.d.o.k seems like a character who would be ripe for a fun comedy show because there's not a whole lot about him. You know, he has been around in the Marvel Universe for years, but he's never had his own series. He's like a C-list villain, basically. He's kind of a joke because he's a giant floating head with tiny arms and tiny legs. Sometimes he's a person, I think. Other times he's more like a machine. M.o.d.o.k stands for mental organism designed only for killing. So, you know, he's not, I don't really know if he's got a personality or anything in the comics. I just know that he's there and he just looks weird and kind of comic booky cool. So it seems like since there's not a whole lot of history, you could take him and do a bunch of different things with him here that would be entertaining or funny or find jokes around. And I don't think that this team figured that out. That, you know, in your first episode, your pilot really should be like the best foot forward, especially the way that they designed this. Like, it ends on a cliffhanger, and I think each episode's gonna end on the you know, something to make you want to think you want to watch the next episode. You know, and there's 10 episodes in all. This wasn't an inexpensive show. This is all stop motion, stop animated, 30 minutes long each episode. This must have taken a long time. And don't get me wrong, the animation looks phenomenal. Like, for what it is, for the style that it's going for. You know, this Robot Chicken is only 15 minutes every time they have one of their episodes, and sometimes they get something that looks really good, sometimes they don't. Like, sometimes it's okay, maybe they're rushed or whatever, but again, it's only 15 minutes, and each of the Robot Chicken stuff is really, really short. Some of the other stuff, you may have seen the Robot Chicken Star Wars specials or the Robot Chicken Marvel or DC specials. I've seen those. I love those. They're phenomenal. But again, those are only 30 minutes, and what Robot Chicken does, I think that this is not doing, obviously, is that Robot Chicken is doing stuff in 15-minute spurts, but even then, it's still got like 2-minute jokes. They figure out one joke that's really, really funny, and they make a skit for it, and then they cut to the next thing. The Star Wars things were the same way. The DC Marvel stuff was the same way. M.o.d.o.k here is trying to be a sitcom and told in that way. The problem is this sitcom that they figured out for M.o.d.o.k is not funny. And at least the first episode, M.o.d.o.k is in charge of A.I.M, which is the guys with the big yellow helmets. They were in the MCU if you've only seen the Marvel movies. You know, but they didn't have the animated the yellow helmets that they do here. This was the organization headed by Killian Kilgrave or something, Killian something, Aldrich Killian in, there you go, in Iron Man 3. So that's what, you know, So that's where you've heard of, maybe you've heard of A.I.M before if you haven't seen anything else or read any comic books or anything like that. But here they're the comic book classic, like yellow jumpsuit, yellow helmet. You can't tell who's behind the helmet. They all have different names and different voices. And the only joke I laughed at in the first episode was a joke that was in the trailer where some guy was getting coffee and he gets his arm blown off and he goes, I guess it's not my coffee then, or sorry, I thought this was mine. And I'd seen that joke before, and still after seeing, like, there was a lot of stuff in this first episode that was not in the trailer, at least to my recollection, and none of it was funny. None of it. Like, this was bad, y'all. Now, I like Family Guy. I watch Family Guy. This isn't quite doing Family Guy. I'm not a Simpsons fan, so maybe this is more going for a Simpsons vibe. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen a whole bunch of episodes. One of the things for me growing up was I was not allowed to watch Simpsons because of the way the Bart character talked to his mom, talked back. So since I was never allowed to watch it being younger when it was hot and fresh and new, I've never had a desire to go back and watch it. And so I just haven't watched any Simpsons. So maybe this is more of a Simpsons vibe. And if you're a Simpsons fan, you might enjoy it. But for me, this was terrible. Like, really bad. I can't believe they made 10 episodes of this or that this got greenlit when it's not like laugh out loud funny. Now, I think it's a little unfair to compare this to Robot Chicken because Robot Chicken is a completely different style. It's focusing on one joke and zeroing in on that, honing it in. But even the situations here in the MODOK show, whether it's the workplace comedy stuff that they're trying to do or the at-home family stuff they're trying to do, they're not doing well at all. Like, I think there is a lot of fun to be had with MODOK and the guys in A.I.M and him maybe forgetting who their names were, stuff like that. That seems like a really easy joke to do in the first episode, or mixing up who's who as they're walking in and out the door. Like, all that stuff can be played for laughs, and they're not doing it here. MODOK as a character here is so self-absorbed with himself, and I think maybe that's where the break is if he was actually a real character instead of, in this first episode, he's so self-absorbed. He's only concerned with what he's accomplishing, what he's doing, what he's got. And instead of being involved with everyone else's situations and being fun and getting the humor from there, they're trying to get the humor from his self-absorption in the same way that the Dad and Family Guy is, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't work here because the Dad and Family Guy, or I forget his name because I haven't watched Family Guy in a couple of years probably, he's a moron, and he's a self-absorbed moron, but he's still funny, and then they do have the cutaways to rely on too. This isn't doing cutaways here in MODOK. It's like one scene into the next. I would strain to even call this show amusing. This show might do well if you're on a telecon and you just put it on mute and just watch the animation go by. Like, that's the most entertaining part of the show, is giving the stop motion animators their credit and saying that this show is beautiful to watch. They got sets, every character is different, they're moving the mouth every different time. It doesn't seem like they're going between two different mouth flaps. Like, you can tell that they, like, the lower part of MODOK is from his nose down to his chin, and they're swapping out individual pieces here to give him different mouth animations, and that takes a lot of time for each frame, for each word. So obviously, like, I feel like this style, maybe the sitcom style, does really well with improv or something like that in live action, but because this is animation, you can't really get that improv stuff down. Maybe you can in the recording booth, but it takes so long to do this stuff that maybe that's where it lost its mojo, I guess, if it ever had any to begin with. So I think all in all, the script, the idea of MODOK running A.I.M, he loses A.I.M in the first episode because he's mismanaged it, and then his wife and his problems at home. He's got 2 kids, one of whom is normal, the other one is like him in this floating chair with a big head. They introduce so many things, and it's like, I wish they would have just stuck with one thing and hammered it all the way home. Like, if it's going to be a family sitcom, make it a family sitcom. Or if it's going to be a workplace sitcom, make it a workplace sitcom. But straddling the line between the two, weakened what I think the general idea of it could be. Then, at the same time, they introduced his son and his daughter, and they give them stupid jokes here, but they don't really introduce them as characters in a way that you could play them for laughs or get situational comedy, a sitcom, out of their situations, out of their personalities or anything like that. So, and even with the A.I.M guys, there's a female character whose name I don't know. She has a pet rat or whatever that's really ugly, and she's mad at MODOK right away, and because MODOK's kind of a moron, but it's never really like delved into or explained. She's just out to get him. Like this character could have been, I think the character's name was Mindy on the Drew Carey Show. Could be like that. But if you've ever watched an episode of the Drew Carey Show, I know this is like really, really dating myself that I've seen these old TV sitcoms, but Mindy was a foil to MODOK in a to Drew Carey in that show in a very, very funny way. This character here against MODOK is not a funny foil. She's just kind of annoying. So honestly, I'm not gonna watch another episode of MODOK. It was not funny at all. It did not keep my attention. I might put it on mute if I'm on a long telecon and want something on in the background, because I've been known to do that while I'm working from home here. But all in all, this MODOK show is bad, and I don't know how this got greenlit. I don't think you're going to get another season of this, because unless there's like a really, really strong cult following, but I don't think so. This is not funny. Not funny at all. Like, literally, I laughed once. Didn't even crack a smile any other time. So I think the writing's just bad. I don't know. Like, it seems like this would be an easy thing to find out funny situations to put MODOK in. He's so funny looking. They just don't do that here. They just don't do that. Like, you could have MODOK want to be living a normal life. Maybe he says, I got a family because I wanted to be normal. I didn't want to be a freak, so I'm going to try living a normal life the same way that everybody else does. That would be your first thing, is your wife saying to MODOK, you've never been normal in your life. You don't know what we have to go through every day because you fly around in your hover chair all the time. He'd be like, fine, I'm going to do it your way. Like, that could be the first episode. Him trying to cook things, him trying to bend over and getting things out of the lower cabinets. Can he really do that? No, because he's got a floating hover chair that probably floats at the same level the whole time. MODOK having to drive to work one day. That would be funny, trying to see him get into the family sedan that he never has to drive. Like, all these things are, I mean, yeah, maybe you're like, Brent, that's really basic, but again, that's the stuff that's funny. That's the stuff that works. And that is the basic idea of MODOK having a family. Maybe him trying to be normal is the theme that's running through the show. Or if you're going to make it about MODOK running A.I.M into the ground, then have A.I.M be up here and MODOK take over it at the beginning of the first episode and see it start to decline to show you what a moron he is. Or to have somebody who excels. Maybe that's why The Office was so good, because you had Steve Carell's character running it, and he was the big moron, but it was really about Pam and Jim and how they were the people that actually knew what they were doing and could see all the morons around them. That might be also a funny show. But instead, you take both these ideas and try and cram them together, and then what do you end up with? You end up with what this is on Hulu, which is an unfunny mess. A good-looking, but unfunny mess. So that's my thoughts on MODOK. Let me know if you guys watched any more than I did, and if you enjoyed it, and please tell me why. What am I missing? This show is bad, and you can't convince me otherwise. So let me know down below what you thought, and I will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.